Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. My name is Alexis Davis. I'm the social media manager at RSDSA. I'm joined by Jim Broach, Executive Vice President and Director of RSDSA, Dr. Michele Gargan, and CRPS warrior Kelly Considine. Kelly is also the chair of our second annual virtual CRPS Awareness Walk that takes place on Saturday, June 26th. So before we bring Dr. Gargan on to speak about CRPS and mental health, we're going to allow Kelly and her support dog, Gunner, to inform you all about the walk and how you can get involved. So I'll turn it over to you, Kelly.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kelly Considine, and this is my service dog, Gunner. He's going to be 3.5 years old. I'm really excited for this year's walk, which is being held virtually on Saturday, June 26th. The benefit of it being virtual is that you can participate anywhere you'd like. You can walk for however far you are able to, or roll if you're in a wheelchair like myself. I've had the pleasure of being in the walk the past 3 years, and we're really excited because we've reached 72% of our goal and raised over $36,000. We have participants from 30 states, and we also have participants from Canada and Australia. Last year, we had 33 teams, and we're already up to 52 teams, and we have over a month to go. So we're really excited. So we hope that you keep the donations coming. We hope to gain more teams. RSDSA is really a great organization. The donations help put on events like this, the Facebook Live. There have been conferences. It helps pediatric pain patients. It can also help individuals that are struggling financially. And it's just really a great resource. I know for myself, I felt like I went through this alone in the beginning because I didn't know anyone else with the condition. But this has been a great support system. And I've met a lot of great people through this. Just by posting on social media, people have reached out that have CRPS, and they want to learn more about the organization and about the walk. So I really hope that you can join us on June 26th. Wherever you are, whenever you are going to walk, we would just like to see you there. And if you have any questions, you can send me an email. I know Alexis will be putting a link to sign up for the walk, and my email is kelly.crpsawareness@gmail.com. So we hope to see you with photos on June 26th.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Kelly. Remember, if you want to register, donate, sponsor the walk, visit rsds.org/walk, like Kelly just mentioned. I'm going to put the link in the chat, or Jerry might beat me to it and put it there. I'll also be sure to put Kelly's email address there if you have any questions, so that we can get you all the information that you need.
Kelly, may I just ask, Alexis, I want to ask Kelly about Hunter. Tell us about how Hunter became your service dog, just for a moment.
Yeah, so I actually got Gunner when he was 9 weeks old. I self-trained him. So he helps me with a number of tasks because in addition to CRPS, I suffer from POTS. So I do have blood pressure issues. So getting up and down a lot is a struggle for me, and I am in my wheelchair. So Gunner will open the door for me. He hits the handicap buttons. He'll go to the kitchen and get medication out of the cabinet for me. He gets my water out of the refrigerator. He'll turn the light on to avoid me having to get up and down from the bed. You know, in addition to providing all of that support, if I do pass out, he is trained to crawl under my legs to lift them so that the blood flow restores to my brain and I can regain consciousness. If I don't come to right away, he'll go and find help and like keep nudging someone until they follow him to me. So he helps me in a lot of ways. And also too, I think emotionally, he was really good to add to the family, because prior to Gunner, you know, I would lay in bed when I was having a bad day, but now when I have Gunner, I have an extra responsibility. So he loves training. So, you know, even on my bad days, I get out of bed and I'm there training him, and we're a team. You know, he's my best friend. He goes to the hospital with me, doctors, everything.
Yeah. Thanks, Kelly. I misspoke. I called him Hunter rather than Gunner.
Oh, no, actually, I chose the name Gunner because it means battle strong and bold warrior. So
Wonderful.
I thought that was very fitting for a service dog with someone in my condition.
Yeah. Well, Kelly, I'll see you on the 26th. We're walking together. So thank you again for all you do for us.
Thank you. I can't wait. And I hope to see more of you on the 26th. Thanks for having me join tonight.
No
Thank you.
problem. All righty, so now for our featured guest this evening. We have been looking forward to this conversation for Mental Health Awareness Month. And this topic, of course, was requested by so many of you warriors. So I really hope that you all are ready with your questions. So Dr. Michele Gargan holds a master's degree in dance movement therapy from Hunter College and a doctoral degree in clinical psychology from the Minnesota School of Professional Psychology. From 1978 to 1985, she worked in hospitals and mental health clinics, providing direct clinical service, as well as holding supervisory and directorship positions. She has specialized training in group and family therapy and has trained colleagues and supervised graduate students in these areas. Her longstanding interest in the body-mind connection prompted her degree in dance/movement therapy and has led to intensive training in hypnotherapy, biofeedback, and neurofeedback, and an expansion of her practice into the realm of physical pain management. She has published articles about group dynamics and the psychological aspects of chronic pain. And from 2011 to 2018, she wrote the Ask the Doctor column for Pain Pathways magazine. Prior to her clinical career, Dr. Gargan performed professionally with ballet and modern dance companies. She has continued to take several dance classes each week and to teach, choreograph, and perform with local dance companies. She's also presented workshops in movement and nonverbal communication to clinical teams, business teams, high school and college teachers, and healthcare professionals. She describes her work as combining the elements of scientist, practitioner, and artist. Definitely awesome. We are so excited to hear all of this. Now, as always, please remember that while the information shared here tonight is helpful, please consult your physician for personalized medical advice. So before we turn it over to Dr. Gargan, Jim, do you have any announcements, anything you want to mention?
I'm just very excited for tonight. I've been a fan of many years, and I'm excited that you come on our show.
Definitely.
Yes.
All righty, well, we will turn it over to you, Dr. Gargan. The floor is yours.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm glad to be here. Although I have no PowerPoint presentation because Jim, I'm going to blame it on Jim because he only asked me just a little while ago to put this together. Really, the real reason I have no PowerPoint is because I have no idea how to make a PowerPoint presentation. So I'm going to hold up some very low-tech props for you occasionally during this conversation. Okay, so if you can't see it, if you can't see them or they're not placed properly, please let me know. Okay, so we're talking about mental health, right? And mental health affects all of us, but it mostly impacts people with chronic pain, chronic illness, and any kind of physical disability. It's very difficult to manage the world when you don't have full access of your body. And most recently, in the last couple of years, we've had these concentric circles of pressure on us. We have a pandemic, as I hope you all know, and we have wider world crises around us. And then most recently, we've had the United States political and social climate pressing on us. And then those of us who live in communities have local community issues pressing on us. And then we have extended family and nuclear family issues pressing on us. And then, of course, we have our own bodies and all pressing inward. These factors, of course, affect everyone, including those of us who are trying to provide services to all of you. So it's been a really rough 18 months. Mental health has worsened tremendously in the past 18 months due to the psychological issues of isolation, loneliness, unemployment, financial stressors, the loss of loved ones, the fear of losing loved ones, the loss of our normal social and recreational activities that help us manage stress. And then the pressure of living and working and teaching children, doing homeschooling, all in one compressed environment where we can't really get away from each other. And there's, the pressure of that is really getting to all of us. So then in 2019, 11% of US adults reported symptoms of depression and anxiety. In 2020, 42% of adults reported symptoms of depression and anxiety. That's a 4 times increase in symptoms of mental health, depression, anxiety, and other mood disorders and other emotional stresses. Prescriptions of antidepressants have gone up. Domestic violence and substance abuse have increased. And all of the mental health providers that I know, myself included, are stretched to the limit and turning away people, which we really regret having to do. But that's a grim picture that we're all in for all of us. So in the middle of all of this, I'd like to talk to you about a few tried and true ways of facing and dealing with the biological, the psychological, and the social stressors of the here and now. So my background, as Alexis read to you, is I started out as a dancer, and you may notice that I gesticulate wildly when I speak. So that is a part of me. And I danced for a while after high school, and then I decided to go to college. And I decided that I was late to the game, so I needed to cram a 4-year degree into 2 years. Now, I come from a background, a long line of hand-wringing, catastrophizing Italian women. I remember watching my grandmother and the aunt sitting on the porch going, oh my God, what are we going to do? And it could be something as little as weeds in the garden and something as dramatic as somebody's, fatal illness. It was always the same level of hand-wringing. And as a child, I would watch that and I would scratch my head and I would wonder, what is it that they're so upset about all the time? But then when I got to college and I was trying to do 2 years and 4 years, I discovered that I was myself turning into those hand-wringing Italian women. So I figured I needed to do something about that. And those were the days of the Beatles going off with the Maharishi. It was the early 70s, and people were doing transcendental meditation and est and all of that stuff. So I found a meditation teacher. Actually, he was a Jesuit priest, very old man, really, really wise. And he had done all of his missionary work. He had spent his whole missionary career in Asia, and he learned meditation from the Asians. He went right to the source. So he started to teach me meditation. I worked with him for a couple of years, twice a week. And we did a lot of breath work and a lot of focusing and a lot of centering. But he also gave me 2 mantras. He said, these are going to be your mantras for life. And they are, which I still chant to myself regularly on a daily basis. Today, I do not judge. Today, I have no expectations. He taught me that the source of suffering is in our expectations and our judgment and our thinking and our perception and the way we interpret what is happening to us. So this is a really important concept in pain management. You have pain, and then you have the layer of suffering with the pain. And my work is really about stripping away that suffering layer so that the pain can be at its baseline and can be coped with. But suffering is, I think there's some percentages, but a good bit of pain is the remembrance of past pain and the anticipation of future pain, and the perception of the catastrophe in life that the pain condition brings to you. So we're going to work today a little bit, not so much on body techniques. I think almost anybody who has a chronic pain condition has tried things like meditation, yoga, biofeedback, neurofeedback, breath and breathing, progressive relaxation. All of those things are great, and I recommend all of that to everybody. I have kept my own meditation practice going for over 50 years, every day without fail. And I also, de-stress throughout the day. Between patients, I will do at least 2 to 3 minutes of some sort of breath breathing, meditation, or yoga, so that I can cleanse my palate. I can eliminate the content of the past session and make myself open and ready for the next session. And I recommend that. I recommend that you take physical transitions between tasks throughout the day, that you don't just pile things on top of each other, but that you do one thing at a time. And when you're done with that thing, you take a moment or 2 or 5 and you focus. You focus inward, you kind of line things up, you get your breath and breathing centered, you visualize yourself aligned and grounded, you balance your chakras, anything like that that works for you. I just recommend that all day long. And so I'm not going to focus too much on those techniques particularly, but I want to talk to you about the belief system and the way we think and the way we talk to ourselves and others about our suffering. You can learn to adjust your thinking and your judgment and your expectations, and develop a more detached and kind of balanced view of your situation. So suffering is relative. Like, for example, if you have two kids on the playground, two little kids, and one kid runs and trips and skins his knee and falls down, and just, he's so interested in the game that he barely notices, and he gets up and he runs back to the swing set. And then you have another kid, same thing, trips over the same rock, falls, skins the same knee, and completely dissolves in tears, and needs to be really consoled, and needs 3 Band-Aids, and needs a lot of kisses and hugs and a promise of an ice cream. That's a difference in suffering with the same injury and probably the same baseline of pain level. So we're talking about sensitivity to suffering. And there are a lot of people who are truly sensitive people by nature. Some people are not. And those are folks who really can suffer more from things besides physical pain, can suffer more from disappointments, from perhaps arguments with other people, feeling really bad, harboring that, holding on to that. So working with those concepts, that judgment of suffering, that judgment of the pain experience, that judgment of adversity is really, really important. That's what my meditation teacher was saying. Today, I do not judge. Watch how you judge things. I do not judge. I don't judge myself. I don't judge others. I just observe neutrally. If somebody looks ugly, I just let them look ugly. If somebody yells at me, we don't judge. And then the expectations can be a real trap, because you plan a party, or you expect to go on an outing, and one thing or another happens, and either you can't do it, or you do it but you're dragging and not feeling well, or you feel that you've disappointed everyone, and then your suffering increases, your mental health suffering increases, because you feel that you've let yourself and everyone down, and it didn't turn out the way you wanted it to, and the expectation has dashed you to the rocks. So having reasonable expectations, having the expectation that something will probably go wrong, the expectation that nobody really cares as much as you do about how perfectly it goes, those are very, very important concepts. Particularly when you can't take physical action to improve a condition or situation, you have to learn to adjust your thinking and your judgment about what's going on. So I've got this really high-tech slide here. Can this be seen? Is this in view? I'm not sure. And this is a list of the kinds of thinking that are mental health traps. The first one is all or nothing thinking. That is, you see things in black and white. There's no gray, there's no middle ground. Things are wonderful or things are awful. And often, if what you do isn't perfect, you think it's a total failure. That's one kind of thinking trap. The second one is overgeneralization. You can see a single negative event that means that it's going to never end. It's a pattern of defeat that's never going to end. For example, if you have a good friend and you have a misunderstanding or even an argument, then you could go to the place where you think he or she doesn't like you anymore and is never going to want to be your friend again. And then you will always feel like you're going to be isolated and misunderstood. So that's overgeneralizing. The third one is mental filter. So you pick out one negative detail and dwell on that until everything is affected by that negative. So for example, if you make a nice dinner and you overcook the vegetables, and then you can't get your focus away from the ruined vegetables, and you see the whole dinner as a complete failure. The fourth mental trap, thinking trap, is disqualifying the positive. You don't count positive experiences for some reason or another, and you really don't trust positive experiences because you really think that if you have good feelings, you're going to end up feeling bad feelings are going to follow. And so you can even you even taught yourself to feel bad about feeling good. So you just minimize the positive and focus on the negative. The fifth one is jumping to conclusions. You see things as negative, whether you have any facts or not. And there's a couple of subtypes of this. One is mind reading. So you kind of project, or you decide somebody's responding negatively to you without checking it out. If somebody, an acquaintance, meets you on a street and doesn't say hello, you might assume that he or she doesn't like you, doesn't want to speak to you. You don't stop to consider maybe they didn't see you, or they might be preoccupied with other worries and concerns of their own. And it's really not about you. So that's mind reading. And the other is fortune teller error. You expect things to turn out badly, and you don't even allow the possibility that they might be neutral or positive. You anticipate you won't have any fun, or you won't be able to do something, and you become convinced that so much convinced that it's not going to go well that maybe you don't even attend. I'm not sure if you can even all see this stuff. The sixth one is magnification and or minimization. So this is a real trap. And people, I see this all the time. People make a very big deal about your own faults, errors, deficiencies, failures, very big deal about that. And then you make an equally big deal about other people's successes, so that there's not an equal opportunity for failure or success on either part. And on the other hand, you might minimize other people's mistakes. Oh, well, he just made a mistake. But if you make a mistake, oh, for heaven's sakes, that becomes a very big deal. So that's magnification and minimization. Emotional reasoning. You assume that your negative feelings result from the fact that things are negative. And if you feel bad, you assume that's the reality. That means the world situation is bad. You have difficulty testing to see if bad feelings are really based in reality or just a feeling, because feelings, we know, are not the whole truth. Okay. Number 8, you make should statements. You try to push yourself and prove yourself with shoulds. I should do this. I shouldn't do that. I should have known better. I should have said no. I should have worn the red blouse. I shouldn't wish I had any kids. All these are common examples. And the phrase I should is really a trap also, because we can never live up to the shoulds, and we often get trapped in the shoulds of the world should be a better place, so people should be kinder, there should be less crime and violence. That's a real thought trap that you can go down the rabbit hole with that. Okay, labeling and mislabeling. This is kind of overgeneralizing also. This is when you make a mistake, you say, I'm a jerk, I'm a dope. When you fail at something, you say, I'm a loser. When someone rubs you the wrong way, you say, he's a lousy person. You can refer to any event in emotionally loaded language. And so labels get used, and characteristics that don't apply to the person get implied and included. And that's another trap, that mind trap that keeps us living in suffering. And the last one is personalization. You see yourself as the cause of some external unfortunate and unpleasant event that you weren't really responsible for. I've had the experience of having an incest victim, for example, refuse to talk with her parents about the pain of the experience because she feels that they will blame her, because she feels that she's to blame for what happened to her. So those are what we call cognitive errors of depression. Ways that we think that we need to really pay attention to and really, examine and challenge within ourselves. Is this true? Are we overgeneralizing? Are we overthinking? Are we exaggerating? Are we minimizing? Are we magnifying? Are we minimizing? Are we personalizing? And it's really important to just check yourself with other people. Do you think I'm overreacting to this? Do you think that I should do this? Am I putting too much emphasis on the shoulds? Am I putting too much emphasis on my own faults and not enough on my successes? So this is the habits of thinking, and thinking is a habit. Brushing your teeth is a habit, but thinking is a habit, and habits are developed and habits can be changed. So thinking about, looking at your language and the way you describe yourself in situations is very, very important. The language we use, even in our thoughts, very powerful to keep us in the down and out state, are very powerful to help us be positive and realistic and lift it up. The choice of words we use can help us, or they can stall us out. So one of the words that I hear too often is the word just. I'm just depressed. Just to describe a complex emotional situation. I'm just depressed. I don't know why. The word just gets in the way of recognizing that there's usually more than one factor involved in any situation, so that by the time the sink gets clogged and you have a major meltdown over the clogged sink, it's not about the clogged sink. It's about a whole bunch of stuff that's involved before and during the clogged sink. There's several factors usually in any situation. There's no just about it. You really, need to begin to analyze and look at those concentric circles that we talked about. What are the factors involved in the stressor? There's no just about COVID or politics or homeschooling. There's no just about CRPS. These are complex situations. So I encourage people, and I would encourage you to write down the factors, all the factors, large and small, that are at play in your lives right now. Take the word just out of it. Get everything down from, the dripping faucet to financial burdens, to your pain level, to anything and everything, and put them out on paper. In doing that on paper, and one way you can do it is put them on 3x5 cards, because then you can arrange them in a hierarchy. You can say, well, these are big and these are small, but they're all interacting with each other. They're all at play. But when you put them on paper, we begin to get that detached view. We begin to get a remove from them, so that we can more readily engage our thinking as well as our emotions in dealing with things. One of the important scientific facts about pain and about stress is that physical pain and also emotional distress creates stress hormones in the body, byproducts of adrenaline and other stress hormones. And those stress hormones interestingly enough, go directly to the site of any inflammation or any pain condition that you have. And they not only intensify the signal in terms of magnitude, but they also increase the frequency of the pain signal. So stress really has a direct, connect the dots effect on your pain level. And while you may not be able to do much about the physical pain, you can certainly do a great deal about the emotional stressors that can magnify that pain experience. We also know that the stress hormones share the same neural pathway as the serotonin and the other happy mood stuff in our body. So what happens over time is that your body begins to create more receptor sites. Your brain and your central nervous system create more receptor sites for the cortisol and the other stress hormones, and it crowds the serotonin out. What does serotonin do for us? Well, that's definitely the happy mood chemical. Those of you who are on antidepressants may be taking a serotonin reuptake inhibitor. But serotonin is also important for things like thinking clearly, encoding things from memory, being able to function cognitively crisply. So it is very, very important to manage your psychological stress. And one way to do that is to challenge your language and challenge your thinking and develop what we call detached awareness. So detached awareness is something that one learns if you're really training in meditation. It's the ability to perceive something without attachment, to watch your negative thoughts float by the way you watch clouds in the sky, to observe your own self, your sensations, your thinking with a neutral lens, as if you're looking at yourself through a camera, without praise, without blame, with completely neutral, just so an observed awareness. And you when you do this in meditation, when you're just focusing on breath or breathing, for example, or on a mantra, you begin to detach and focus, so hyper-focused on one little thing that everything else melts away. And you learn that skill of being able to detach when the sink is clogged, the pot is boiling over, something goes awry, or, your pain is spiking for you. I have worked with pain patients where we spend time in meditation just watching the pain, just observing it, see what color it is, see how big it is, walk around it, look into it, watch it with a neutral eye. And that is a practice that you can develop. The hardest part about those kinds of practices that people often think that they're just mental practices, but they're not. They're really a physical practice, a skill, like learning to play the flute. You have to really practice, and not give up when the going gets rough and say, I just can't do this. I can't do this. It's not working for me. Just stay with it. When I worked with my meditation teacher, I spent probably a full year just counting my breath on a cycle of 3. The first exhale is 1. The second exhale is 2. The third exhale is 3. The next exhale is 1. And keep going, 2, 3. And if intrusive thoughts come, you just watch them and then you reset back to the 1. And that is a way of teaching yourself this level of detachment, because that takes care of a good bit of the suffering part of the pain experience. And what happens then is that you're beginning to boost the serotonin in your body, lower the cortisol level. And what that does is give you more access to your cognitive capacity, your reasoning capacity, so that you're not just reasoning emotionally, but you're also using, rational thinking to mediate the emotional experience. Those two parts of you have to be friendly with each other. They have to work together. But if you're so overwrought, the cortisol and all that stress stuff crowds out any ability to think. It floods your hippocampus with stress hormones. You can't remember anything. You can't see things clearly. You can't think clearly. You can't perceive. So practicing some sort of anything that will be teaching you this detached awareness. There's so many techniques, and I'll give you some suggestions for books that I recommend at the end of this, so that you are maintaining a sense of calm in the face of adversity. And you have to, when you're talking about what's bothering you, when you're expressing, when you're stating what's going on to friends, family, to yourself, to your doctors, whoever, just be aware of the placement of your voice. Keep it in the diaphragm where it belongs. Don't get it screeching up into your throat. Just keep things low. Watch the set of your shoulders. Notice your tension in your face. Notice the tension in your muscles. Just center yourself so that as you relate what you have to say, you're maintaining a balanced sense. I'll give you an example. I had a person that I worked with, and poor woman, I mean, she just couldn't get anybody to listen to her. She got badly treated by doctors. She just couldn't make anybody hear her. And as she was telling me about this, she started to hunch her shoulders. Her eyes bugged out. Her voice got really screechy, and she pumped her arms up and down like this. And that was her. She was telling me about it. And I said, wait a minute, let's slow down here. Because she was beginning to relive the adverse experience in the telling of it. So I say to people, tell me about it. Don't relive it. Tell me about it as if you're describing a movie, not that you're the director of the movie. Just tell me about it. And so I worked with her to really practice expressing herself with all that bug-eyed tension and screechy voice, so that she could be more readily heard, but more importantly, so that she could be calm enough to interact with the other person. And that was something very, very important. Notice those things about you. That's the body part of the body mind. In whatever pain you're in, there are parts of you that are not in pain. So you can focus on those, work on that relaxation, deep relaxation. The other thing that I think is really important is the language that we use when we talk about how we're feeling. So people say, I'm depressed, when they really mean, I'm sad, I'm in a low mood, the feeling. I'm depressed overly identifies us with symptoms. And we don't say I am flu or I am broken leg. So why do we say I am depressed, right? We have feelings of depression. We have the experience of depression. We have symptoms of the flu. We have a broken leg. We are not that. Years ago, in the early part of my career, I worked with very seriously mentally ill folks, people who had schizophrenia, people who were hallucinating, they were delusional. And we really worked with them to say, I have schizophrenia, not I am schizophrenic, because that's not the sum total of a person. Those symptoms, your CRPS is not the sum total of you. There's so much more to you than that. So really, I have, not I am depressed. I have anxiety or I'm feeling anxious. Use the word feel, sense, and watch out for the word depression, which is a very big global word, because a lot of times people say I'm depressed when they just mean I'm in a very low mood, or I'm sad and lethargic, or I'm feeling hopeless. Try to use some nuance and some more specificity than that global depression. People come in and say, I think I'm bipolar. Why? Because you have some mood swings sometimes? No, those are just normal mood swings. You're not bipolar. Those are big, big diagnoses. And that's not to say you don't have emotional distress, but it doesn't mean you're clinically, depressed or anxious or bipolar or anything else. So you're describing an experience, not your entirety as a human being. There's more to you than your emotional distress. And so here's my other high-tech slide that says, I am more than my feelings. Very important to maintain your sense of yourself and your identity through all of life's trials and tribulations. Okay. So even with chronic pain and in a pandemic, there are places in life that we can have satisfaction. There are places that we can intensify. There is an instrument that we use to help people with life satisfaction. It's called the Quality of Life Index. And it breaks down, what the elements that make a healthy and balanced life. So I put those on the tackiest folder thing that I could find. And what's important in life, that we have goals and values, that we have work of some sort. And it doesn't have to be big corporate something. It can be, just even household chores. We have work, we are functional. We play, and this is a big, big area that people forget about, playing. We need to keep learning and learn all kinds of things. Learn Chinese, learn the ukulele. We need to be creative. We have a very neat, one of the greatest needs of human beings is some sort of creativity, whether it's in your cooking or in the letters that you write to people or in oil painting or something like that. Creativity is very, very important. Helping others is important. And even if you really aren't able to get out there and, do something physically, you can help just, just by listening. You can help by being present. You can help by offering empathy and sympathy to others. You can help by listening to things that you can offer suggestions with. You can help with problem solving. Love obviously is very important. Having love in your life, expressing love, feeling love, remembering that you are loved. And even if you don't have a lot of loved ones around you, you have extended family, you have ancestors who love you, you have grandparents, you have people in your life who love you. And that is important for quality of life. Friendship is important, even if it's just a phone call friendship or a texting email friendship. Your home is important. It should work for you. It should be a pleasant place to be. It should satisfy you to be there. And maintaining some connection to your neighborhood and community. These are all areas that are very, very important. And of course, with the pandemic, we haven't been able to do what we usually do. And with CRPS, you obviously can't do all the time, all the things you'd like to do, but you can cultivate what you can whenever you can. Very, very important. So thinking about meaningfulness in your life, all of those things. So having your physical practices of meditation, relaxation, self-hypnosis. You can learn self-hypnosis, but also watching your language. Watch your language. Be careful how you speak, what language you use, how you speak to yourself about yourself, how you speak to yourself about the environment, how you judge, how you speak to others about your situation. Use words that do not overly identify you with pain, illness, adversity, failure, disappointment. That's part of what you're experiencing. It's not the sum total of you. Okay. So just to finish by recommending a few resources for you. This book is called The Reality Slap. It's by Russ Harris. And it talks about facing the reality slap is the distance between what the life you want to have and the life you do have. And he talks about ways and techniques that you can be content with the life you have without having that be so dissonant and sort of slapping you in the face. So that's one. This is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. The idea of meaning is so very, very important. Viktor Frankl was a prisoner in concentration camps in World War II in Germany. He was in Auschwitz and others for many, many years. He was a psychiatrist who was in solitary confinement in a very small confined cell, and had to develop a way of managing the isolation, the torture, and all of that. And he developed a practice that he called logotherapy. And he wrote this book in 1959, and it's been a bestseller, forever. So I recommend this book. It's very, very inspiring. So he gives you some techniques for that. I recommend Full Catastrophe Living by Jon Kabat-Zinn. He's the inventor of mindfulness-based stress management or mindfulness-based stress reduction. He is actually, his PhD is in biology, I believe, not psychology. He developed the mindfulness-based stress reduction program at the University of Massachusetts Health Center. And he has a program of dealing with chronic illness, chronic pain, anxiety, depression, and other, states. And so this book is a description of the program. It goes chapter by chapter with how he goes through the program. And there are some exercises at the end of each chapter that you can do. But I would also recommend that if there's any possibility of mindfulness-based stress reduction groups or practitioners in your area, that you connect with them, because that is a lot of what I've been talking about here today. And then this is the Relaxation and Stress Reduction Workbook, which has tons of really good exercises, both for body, relaxation, breathing, autogenics, all that kind of stuff. And that's the first half of the book. And the second half of the book is cognitive exercises, checklists, exercises that you can do to adjust your thinking, maintain that detached awareness we're talking about, have realistic expectations and a realistic view of yourself and the world. So this is a really good one. It's full of fabulous, charts and exercises. And you don't even need to read it from cover to cover. You can read around in it and pick out stuff that suits you. And the final thing, if you're into science, this latest issue of Scientific American is The Science of Stress, and it's got all kinds of articles in it about the physiology of stress. And pain is a stressor, as we know, right? So the physiology of stress, and it goes through, all kinds of different scientific studies and scientific recommendations for your life and your living. And that's all I got. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you so much for all of that. I've been over here just taking notes myself on so many of the different things that you mentioned. And I know there are some CRPS warriors in the chat saying the same thing. And when you were going through the mental health traps, I know there were a few that kind of stuck out to me when it comes to what I have heard from other CRPS warriors, especially should statements and the personalization, because so many warriors, some of them blame themselves for their injury. They blame themselves because they think that they put so much on their family or their friends. And it was just good to hear you say that, this is something that's common for everyone. And so CRPS warriors definitely should not be beating themselves up for all these different things. So I don't know if there was anything that really stood out to you, Jim.
Just before we begin, I thought it was fabulous and thank you. What about any podcasts? Sometimes it's difficult for individuals with CRPS to read. Any
You know,
comment?
yeah, I don't personally know any offhand, but I think people can noodle around in them. If you do, podcasts, mindfulness-based stress reduction podcasts, if you just Google that, I'm sure something's going to pop up.
Yeah.
Even the relaxation stress reduction workbook, they may have some online stuff,
Thank you.
and any, there's lots and lots and lots of downloadable audio. Like John Kabat-Zinn has a good, he's got good audio recordings of parts of his program, like the body scan. And I don't know if people have heard of the body scan. It's really, really well researched and tried and true. He does a very good, delivery of it. It takes about 45 minutes, but it's one of the factors that has been proved to be kind of one necessary and sufficient condition for people's health to improve. If you can do nothing else and you just do the body scan, things will happen for you. You'll improve.
I was lucky enough to hear him live one time
Yeah.
at a conference, and he asked everyone who was in the shower with them. You're always thinking
Right,
ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, stay in the moment.
So I know you mentioned earlier about how, a lot of times people will really focus on one thing, one issue a lot. And that happens a lot with CRPS wards, especially those who are newly diagnosed. And we always hear people talk about unlearning different things and training your brain. And we know that CRPS is not just in people's heads. We probably
Right,
know
of
that.
course.
But it's like, how can people, I guess, really start to, unlearn pain signals of CRPS? Like, is that possible? How do
No, you can't unlearn pain signals, but you can unlearn how you intensify the pain signal by fretting about it, right? That's what I'm talking about. So what you unlearn is the way you intensify the pain signal by producing stress hormones in your body, by dwelling and thinking and fussing about it, and by catastrophizing it, and by focusing on it. So you can teach yourself to focus on other body parts. You can teach yourself to focus on other thoughts. Even if you focus on a candle flickering or a flower that you love, you're already lowering your cortisol level. And that per force lowers the pain level, in the sense that you're lowering the biochemistry that's intensifying that pain signal. So you can really change your brain. And the perception of pain. And we do know that depression and anxiety enhance the perception of pain. When people are really depressed, we don't know what the base pain level is. We have to get that stuff under control and get people more centered and calm before we see what's really painful and how big it is. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it definitely does, because like I said, we just get so many different comments.
Yeah,
And
I mean, that's why this kind of stuff is good to know. I mean, learn the science of pain, the pain brain, learn the science of sense receptors, pain receptors, and all that kind of stuff. It's important to know how it works in your body. And the effects of neurotransmitters are really, really important. We have control over neurotransmitters. We do more than we think.
yeah, we have a warrior, Christina. She just commented and said, my worst pain days are when I am in the poor me state of mind. So I totally believe what Dr. Gargan is saying.
Yeah, ta-ta-da.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it creates such a vicious cycle. I mean, then you go around, you're winding round and round and round, I think what, was it Kelly who spoke at the beginning with her dog?
Kelly.
I mean, she said, I would stay in my bed, but I've got this dog and I have to get up and do stuff, and then in doing with the dog, then you're out of yourself. You forget yourself. I mean, as a dancer, how many of us dance on broken toes? I mean, or blood squishing in our shoes, and we didn't even notice, right? I mean, you don't notice because you're so in the zone, and you have to teach yourself how to be more in the zone more often. When you're in that zone, everything melts away, but the experience that you're in.
Anything else from you, Jim?
Someone mentioned stinking thinking.
Yeah,
right?
that's an AA term, and that's exactly what we're talking about.
Mhm.
Right? That's an AA term. When people, they get in their pity pot, those are all AA terms, which is, you kind of, woe is me and everything's crappy. And so I got to take a drink, I mean, And so in AA meetings, they challenge each other on, that's just stinking thinking. And, and that the serenity prayer is always is a good one. I mean, it's the AA serenity prayer, but it is about the learning to see, do what needs to be done, what you can change, what you can't change, and the wisdom to know the difference. That's really, really important.
Yeah. And thank you to Susan for actually mentioning that stinking thing. And I saw that earlier and I had never heard of it before.
Yeah, it's very common. It's very common. And you can hear, if you're around people who are in AA, you hear them talking to each other like, no, quit your stinking thinking. Right.
Yeah. Michele, I know it's a tough question, but a lot of people with CRPS experience flare-ups. Is there anything that you could give to us?
That's a thing for anybody with not just CRPS, but any kind of pain. I think the thing to do then is to really, when you're not in a flare-up, practice all these techniques, all the relaxation, all the self-hypnosis, all the Zen, all the mindfulness stuff you can, so that when the flare-up happens, you have those tools at your disposal. And I say to people, you can't learn karate in the middle of a street fight. You got to learn karate in the dojo. And then when the fight happens, you've got the tools that you need to deal with it. So that's my best, effort with folks, is to say, have the biggest toolkit you've got. And then just say to yourself, this is a flare-up. Right. It's not the end of the world. It's not who I am. I don't know how long it's going to last, but flare-ups are perforce, have an arc usually to them, and eventually they subside. But you have, if you have the confidence that you've got the tools to deal with it, that you can redirect your attention elsewhere. You have to take your attention elsewhere. You're like a kid with your finger headed for the light socket. You got to take that finger and put it somewhere else, on a toy or a stuffed animal. Is that, I don't know how helpful
all
that
things shall pass.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But a lot of times people, they say, yeah, but all I'm doing is meditating. So what? That's what you're doing now. It doesn't matter if you're doing it 1 hour a day or 9 hours a day. If that helps you, then do it. Don't put it last. Don't get to your meditation after everything. I also say to people, if you needed kidney dialysis, you wouldn't get around to it. You would put it first, or you work around it. So your self-care habits include dealing with your psyche and learning to modulate your neurotransmitters. That's a really important part of your day. And if it takes longer than you think it should, forget the should. It takes as long as it takes. Give it a lot of attention.
So there's a question, it's a good one from Amy. I was going to ask this one as well. So is there a good way to find a therapist who understands CRPS, chronic pain, like specifically? I don't know if there's like any sort of unique directory like that.
No, and I've been looking. It's really hard, and it's really hard to even get doctors to understand. Right? But I mean, I came by this by happenstance. How I started with the whole pain thing was, I was just a general, psychological practitioner, and I joined a private practice that was a loose consortium for pain management. So there was an anesthesiologist who did pain management. There were 2 physiatrists and a psychiatrist, and I joined the psychiatric practice, and they said, okay, you're in. And then they had me doing psychological assessments for spinal cord stimulator implants, which I knew nothing about. So I had to learn that. And over the course of time and working with those folks, I started to develop, because of my training as a dance therapist and my meditation practice personally, I started to put all this stuff together. There is a subdivision of the American Psychological Association that is about pain and health psychology. But as far as I know, there is no, kind of directory of us. In fact, I'm one of the few in all of Fairfield County that does it.
Absolutely. And it's very difficult to afford psychological therapy. Sometimes insurance doesn't pay.
That's right. And so then you have to look for a practice that takes insurance. Sometimes the hospital-based practices do. I have done some training with the Stanford Hospital Group and the Danbury Hospital, Department of Psychiatry, a little bit of training, but And those are centers that always take insurance. People, and I do for the pain folks that can't afford me, and I take a few insurances, but not all of them. I mean, that's my pro bono work, because I've got people that pay me $300 an hour privately. So I feel like I can subsidize a few pain people, that way. So that's my philosophy. I don't know, but I have been looking over the years for more people to train and to kind of pass the baton, because, I'm 105 now, and I'd like to hand it forward.
Well, definitely keep us posted on those who you do train.
I will.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I did just actually leave a link to the psychologist locator for the APA and psychologist.
Yes.
Completely wrong in the chat. So if anyone is looking for assistance in their area, they can do that.
And there's also, doesn't have to be a psychologist. Many medical social workers are trained in all of this stuff too. So probably the social work associations would maybe have lists of people as well.
We could list that later. That's fine. I'm overwhelmed with gratitude for you coming on with short notice.
I'm happy to do it. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I hope everybody stays well and is safe, and benefited even a little bit from what I had to offer today.
definitely. Alexis, your finale.
Alrighty, so for everyone who is watching either live or the replay, I have added links to the numerous books and publications that were shown to the comments, and I will also add them to the description on Facebook and on YouTube, so you can definitely get those. So of course, Dr. Gargan, thank you so much for joining us and for all this great information. This was definitely super helpful. There are so many people in the comments that are definitely thanking you for joining us this evening. So as always, for everyone, this video will be pinned to the top of our Facebook timeline for easy access if you want to rewatch it. And we will also add it to YouTube. And we will, of course, take any extra questions that you may have for Dr. Gargan. Just send them directly to us here at RSDSA. Our email, of course, is info@rsds.org. And then, of course, if you need a support group, a new physician, if you are looking to write for the blog, or if you just need anything else from us, you can always send us an email at that address as well. And I'm trying to think if I forgot anything. Oh, our next Facebook Live is going to be in early June, June 9th. More details on that will be released soon. But we do have 2 great Facebook Lives already scheduled for June. So we hope that you all will come back and join us. But of course, thank you for joining us, and I will see you all next time. Have a good one.